Hey guys, it's Caitlin, and I know it's been a really long time, and I know that I also said I was gonna upload more regularly, and then I haven't uploaded in about 10 months. But I did just finish year 12, my final year of high school. I actually have my graduation tomorrow, so I have so much more time now to actually film and upload videos for you guys. So I'm sorry. So the video that I'm going to be doing today is a book talk on Two Summers by Aimee Friedman. I don't know if this is actually a really popular book at all. I haven't heard too many other people talking about it. So when I saw it in Dimmicks, I picked it up, thought I might, you know, give it a bit of a go. So recently I've actually been in a really bad book slump. I haven't been able to read anything. I was reading during my exam period, but when I actually had the time to read, I couldn't finish any book I picked up. So it was really frustrating. But I did manage to finish this one, so I'll do the little thing. Yeah, I don't even know. I can't English anymore. This is so hard. So for those of you who haven't read Two Summers, I'll just give a little bit of a non-spoiler section before I actually go into the review. And if you want to read it before you watch this video, then I'll let you know when to click off and stop watching. If you have read it or you just don't really mind being spoiled, then feel free to keep watching. So Two Summers is about a girl named Summer Everett. Is that her name? It is! Yay! In the prologue, she's deciding whether or not she goes to France, and at the very end of the prologue, she gets a phone call. So in the first chapter that comes after the prologue, it's where she does pick up the phone call, and then in the second chapter, it's where she doesn't pick up the phone call. So you get to see what her life would be like if she did and didn't go to France, hence the Two Summers thing, because it happens over the summertime. Yeah, so both summers involve like a summer romance, and both are just kind of really happy and everything until all contemporaries have to have one thing that goes wrong. So I think that's all I can really tell you guys without spoiling so much of it. So if you haven't read this book, or if you don't want to be spoiled, then you might want to click off now, because I'm about to start getting into the spoilery stuff. I don't know where to put this while I do the review. Can I put it back on my shelf? Is that fine? I'm going to do that. So before we properly get into this, I'm sorry if the lighting is really glary or if it's too bright. This is the first time I've actually used a light that I bought recently, because I didn't know that it didn't come with a battery until it got here. And I only actually got the battery in the mail today. It's like, I'm sorry if this is really bad. I haven't done a book review in a while, so we're just gonna see how this goes. So I really liked the whole premise of the novel. So where one part was where she did pick up the phone call, and then one part was where she didn't. Because as soon as the prologue ended, I'm like, well, is she gonna pick it up, or is she not gonna pick it up? And I didn't actually realize that we were gonna see the other perspective of her summer. I thought we were just gonna be stuck with the one where she ignored the phone call and got on the plane to France. And I was like, I was so frustrated, because I'm like, well, that's what I want to know. I want to know like who was calling her, or what the hell is going on, or something. And then as soon as I actually got to the second half of the book where I kind of got that other perspective, I was like, right. I was a bit frustrated with the main character, Summer, in the beginning of the novel, because she just seems like someone who they don't grow well in the face of change, if that makes sense. Because when I was reading actually both perspectives, she annoyed me in the beginning of both perspectives, because her friends just wanted to do something else, or her friends are moving on while she wasn't there, and she kind of considers that as a betrayal. She's like, oh my god, they're betraying me by going to this party, or she's hanging out with someone else, and like, I should be doing that. She did grow on me a bit though, because I guess that's the whole character arc and the character development thing. She kind of gets used to that, and she progresses because of that change. The first little perspective part where she does pick up the phone call though, I actually felt so bad for Summer, because her and Ruby's relationship, it was falling apart at the seams, and I'm not going to say I know what that feels like, but I can only imagine what that feels like. Especially when she had that conversation with Ruby in the coffee shop when she said, you weren't even supposed to be here this summer. So she's basically just saying to her, you were supposed to be off in France, and I was going to be here, like, finding the love of my life. I'm hanging out with the person that we both used to hate, but hey, she's not actually that bad. And then everything was just falling apart for her. Like, her best friend was just drifting away. She was drifting away. So I did really feel for her, and I feel like that's kind of where I'm more connected with her character, because it was a bit more relatable. I did actually like the structure of the novel though, because when I was reading that first little part where she didn't pick up the phone call, it ended and then went to the part where she actually did pick up the phone call, and I was so frustrated because I just wanted to know what was going to happen. But then as soon as we got to the end of the part where she did pick up the phone call, I had the exact same feeling. I just wanted to stay in Hudsonville and everything. Like, screw France. I want to know what's going on with her. And I've actually already forgotten the name of the love interest in the second part. I think he's Hugh. His name was Hugh. Yeah, so I actually really wanted to know what was going on between Summer and Hugh, because it was just like, it's so cute and everything, and they were bonding even though they used to pretend to hate each other. So the big plot twist in this novel was that the reason Summer's father had actually moved over to France was because he had another family there. So that was why he actually got a divorce from her mother, and he'd left them because since he was an artist, he was constantly traveling back and forth from France, and somewhere at that point in time he'd gotten with another woman and she fell pregnant and she had a daughter. So when Summer's mum found out about that, it was like, well, it's either them or it's us, and we're getting a divorce either way. So he kind of went over to France. And throughout the whole story, Summer's commenting on this one piece of artwork that her father had painted of her. But in part one, she actually goes to the gallery with Jacques, her summer fling love interest in France. They walked into the gallery and she comments on how she's never actually been in a field of poppies before, and she never posed for that image or anything. And that was when it clicked. I've just gone, oh my god, it's not her, it's Eloise, which is her father's secret daughter that Summer didn't know about. Like, as soon as that knowledge just clicked in my brain, oh my god, like, I couldn't even cope with it anymore, because I was just waiting for that moment where the bomb would drop and she would figure out and she'd lose her shit. I really liked how the two perspectives linked though, because in both perspectives the same kind of thing was happening. So while she was in France, Hugh was taking the photography course that she would have taken if she had answered the phone call. Her and Ruby would still have been falling apart. The photo that Ruby posted on Instagram of her and the other girl getting ready for the party, Summer would have been there if she had have been back in Hudsonville instead of in France. So I really liked how they linked, and I especially liked how the two perspectives, one after the other, was when Summer actually found out that her father had another family. And I cried so hard in both perspectives. It was so emotional, and I felt so bad for her because it just kind of, they just sprung it on her like, hey, your dad has another family and that's why he's over there, and that's why he also didn't want you to come to France, and that's also why that girl is being like a real to you. Throughout the progression of the story though, where she didn't pick up the phone call and Eloise was being so mean to her and so cruel, I really hated her throughout that whole thing, because I was just kind of thinking, what has she done to you to actually make you that pissed off at her? But as soon as Eloise found out that Summer didn't actually know, she had no clue whatsoever that she was her sister, she was a lot kinder to her. Like, there was still that resting bitch face going on half the time. But in both perspectives, Eloise was there for her and she was trying to comfort her. It came across that way that she was trying to comfort her. So I really liked how her character kind of shifted from being resentful and mean the whole time to being understanding and comforting and just like a nice overall character. And she even confesses in one of the perspectives, she goes, that person that you saw and the person that I was to you, that's not who I am, and I hope you don't think that that's who I am. I was mad and, you know, teenage girl stuff, it happens. There was one part though that really made me crack up laughing. It was in the perspective where she stayed in Hudsonville instead of going to France, and she talks to Eloise on the phone and she goes, hey, this might sound kind of weird, but would it be strange if I added you on Instagram? I'm like, what? Like, there were so many references to Instagram throughout the novel, and I just found it hilarious because it was the only kind of social media that people actually talked on apart from texting. So it was always like, oh my god, we have full-on conversations in the comment section of Instagram, and it was just, it made me laugh. It was a good time. Now, I will read this next one off because it's a really long note here and I don't actually know what I wrote about it, so I just kind of go here. So I really loved her constant references to omens within the story, because throughout the whole novel it was made very clear that Summer truly believes in omens. Everything she sees, like a storm, or that's the only example I can think of, she's always thinking, like, it's in her train of thought, oh my god, like, is this a bad omen? Is this a good omen? Well, like, what does this mean I should do? Her life decisions basically revolve around these omens. So of course they had to make an appearance. So I really liked the scene after she talked with Eloise and her father. So she goes outside to sit with her mum to watch the storm, and then I have a quote here that the storm stops as quickly as it began, it was over. I just thought that it kind of sums up the whole novel really in one sentence, because it was just clear skies and everything while she stayed in Hudsonville and also while she was in France. And then there was this big storm and everything. You could just see it coming as soon as her father revealed and her mother revealed in the other perspective that she had more than one family. And then as soon as she found out about it, she kind of let it go and she accepted it, and the storm was over as soon as it began. So I really liked how she managed to incorporate that in, because it happened in both perspectives as well. So I really like how there was that continuous theme of omens and how she just summed it up with that one main symbol, that motif and everything. And it was just like, I have no words for how much I actually appreciated that, because there are some authors who they might mention something in the beginning and then they completely forget about it in the rest of the text. So it was just nice to see that she remembered that and she actually managed to put it in there throughout the rest of the novel. I also really liked how in the last page before the epilogue, which is in the different perspective, it says the storm stops as quickly as it began as well. So the same as the previous perspective, like I just said. And someone talks about how it may represent that things have come full circle, because they have. Both stories ended with her and her mother becoming a lot closer than they were. Things with Ruby were still rocky, but they were definitely on the mend and they were trying to sort things out because they just needed a bit of a break from each other. And her father was trying to reconcile and he was coming to Hudsonville in both perspectives. So I really liked how it really did become full circle, because the same things happened in both perspectives, and it was nice to see how similarly things turned out. The only difference was that one, she actually went to France and kind of had a fling with Frenchmen, or she took a photography course. That was the only difference really, because they ended the same. I really love the ending though, because like I said at the beginning of this book review, it has a prologue and it has an epilogue. And in the epilogue, it is really hard to tell whether or not she actually did go to France. It's hard to tell which perspective is the true one, because it's vague but it's specific. So things that happened in both perspectives, or things that happened in one but could have happened in the other, were actually resolved in that epilogue, or they were mentioned. So it's actually so difficult to pick which one happened. The only thing that kind of tips me off that it's maybe the fact that she did go to France was because she references her lucky dress, which is the dress that she wore when she first went on the date with Jacques. So that's the only thing that kind of tips me off. But at the same time, her like quickly budding relationship with Hugh Tyson, I was just, that's the only thing from the other perspective that I was thinking. So I still can't decide whether or not she did or didn't go to France, because it's just, my god, I love the structuring of this novel. It's my favorite structuring of any novel I think I've read, because it's just, it's so creative the way that she's done it as well. One of the notes that I have here, I was like, okay, one, she kissed Hugh Tyson with like 50 exclamation points after. I was so excited when that happened. And two, I love how the ending seems kind of prophetic, but at the same time, it's just the wishful thinking of a 16-year-old girl whose life got turned upside down, but she's still embracing the future. So she seems kind of mature for her age, and she seems really wise, because she has these moments where everything just kind of clears up before her eyes, and she's like, oh, like she has these zen moments. So one of the quotes that I actually wrote down here as well was from, it was the last couple of lines of the epilogue. She says, "If I've learned anything this summer, it's that nothing can be predicted or planned. The possibilities are endless." And I really like that quote, because throughout the whole novel, at least in the beginning when I said she really annoyed me, she was not used to change. She liked to plan everything. She was so organized, and if anything didn't go to plan, it kind of threw her off. So I really like how we've had that character development of Summer throughout the whole novel, where she's come to realize that nothing can be planned in life. Nature runs its own course and you've got to go along with that. So it was really nice to see her actually come to that realization, and then I'm really wondering how she's further going to progress after the novel finished. So overall, I did like certain aspects of the novel. I think I rated it a 3 or 4 stars on Goodreads, but I'm thinking that I want to rate it a 3.5, just because there were some parts that did seem really childish, and there were some parts where Summer just really annoyed me, because she was clinging to the past and she was clinging to everything that she knew, and she just wasn't willing to experience something new. She wanted everything to freeze in her old life while she kind of moved on, and everything would be the exact same when it came back, which everyone knows is never gonna happen. So I feel like just in that beginning, she was just that type of person that I found really hard to connect with and really hard to actually relate with. But as her character did progress, I did become to actually enjoy the novel a bit more. But it was just kind of that beginning, that little phase before she actually started her development, that I found really hard to get through. But if you don't have any problems with reading that kind of thing, if you really like to see how the character develops, then I definitely recommend this book for you, because it's such a thorough character development. I sounded like I was gonna cry just then. I'm so emotional about this book. But I think it was just because of that mainly. That was one of the only reasons that I gave it a 3.5, just because I really seriously considered just putting down the book and not even finishing it in the beginning. And that could partly be due to my book slump, because like I said, I couldn't finish any book that I started. Even Sarah J Maas's books, I started them and I couldn't finish them, and I stopped them because I didn't want to ruin them for myself with the kind of slump that I was in. So it could have been that, or it really just truly could have been the fact that I hated summer in the beginning of that novel. But overall, I did rate it a 3.5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So if you do want to pick this book up, I'll leave the link down in the description. I don't really know what else to say. I'm sorry if this is long, if this is boring. I know that I haven't done one in a while, so I'll try and get back onto a bit of a regular uploading basis for these kinds of videos. That's kind of all I have to say at the moment. Give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Make sure to go subscribe down below if you haven't already. I'm Caitlin. Bye guys, I'll see you next time.